The Xperia Z earlier this year was oozing with potential. The Xperia Z1 solidifies this thought, improving on many of the sticking points from its predecessor and leaving a better taste in my mouth this time around. Give this video the big thumbs up, subscribe if you're new to my content, and follow the link in the description to pick up a new smartphone, tablet or accessory from mobicity.com. Sony loves symmetry in design. Glass front and back denotes its flagship status, and IP58 dust and water resistance is just the icing on the cake that lets you have the elegance and quality that comes with a big price tag with the convenience of a more rugged build. The phone is remarkably similar in look to the Z, and that I don't mind, and I am elated with the look and feel of the metallic frame, which was a suggestion I had after reviewing the Xperia Z. The flaps that protect the internals from the elements make a return. Their inclusion permits the excellent symmetry as well as the resistance. I was thrilled to see the headphone jack uncovered though, and sleekly bound in a metallic edge. This was far more convenient. The right hand side is very busy, and a dedicated shutter button lies low, with the volume rocker kind of awkwardly placed closer to the unlock button, which doesn't have quite enough distinction and fidelity this time for perfect operation. The base of the device has a long speaker grille colour matched that helps maintain its good looks. The Z1 is generally a bit heavier than what you come to expect these days at 170 grams, but it's caused by the robust frame and overall large size. The size for me was a bit of an issue. It is nice and thin at only 8.5mm, but lacks any physical or capacitive buttons and still harbours large bezels top and bottom. The angular and rectangular design as well doesn't cater well to your palm, and I continually had to readjust a single-handed hold for optimal use. And whilst I adore the idea of glass as a visual and visceral design element over cheap plastic, the glass smudges terribly still, but fortunately is slightly silkier compared to what the Xperia Z had. But inside this classy chassis is a very capable smartphone. Call quality and data transmission speeds fly with the LTE antenna, and I had no issues with the lag whatsoever with the user interface. On benchmarks, this was the second fastest device this year, only behind the Galaxy Note 3. That's because in its belly it has the new Snapdragon 800 chipset with a quad-core 2.2 GHz CPU, Adreno 330 GPU, and 2 GB of RAM. The Z1 comes with 16 GB of internal storage, but can be expanded out via microSD card up to another 64 GB or via USB OTG. Connectivity options are aplenty with Wi-Fi model 802.11ac, NFC, and Bluetooth 4.0. The GPS handled excellently, as well did the 3000 mAh battery. Stamina mode options help blow standby time out by a lot, but in general the average user would make it through a day and a half between charges. Continuous HD video playback cuts out at about 10 hours. The display is a defining point this time, mostly because it was such a sour note on the Xperia Z. Viewing angles have improved on the 5-inch 1080p TFT panel, and the tri-luminous display technology gives vivid and excellent color reproduction helped with the X-Reality engine, and in general featured deep blacks and perfect whites, but it still pales to the display found on the likes of the G2. Viewing angles still have a big way to come before I could tick it off as a winner, but thank God it is what it is, and not what I had to endure on the Xperia Z. The thing I respect most about Sony is how they give the less skinned version of Android 4.2.2. Let's not beat around the bush though, it's still a heavy cut of what actually is a raw version. Still looks and operates distinctly in a way Sony wants it to, but the icon choices, app design all mirror stock Android far closer than what LG and Samsung do, and my eyeballs definitely appreciated it. I also appreciated the app inclusions. Their gallery, video and music playback apps are great, and Track ID is available to me as a lock screen widget. The notification tab doesn't do the scrollable shortcut idea, rather the more you have, the more you see down the page, but the notifications look clean and sleek with plenty of room to move. Keep swiping over in the app drawer and you get the search and uninstall options as well as ways to organize your apps. This is also a shortcut across the left bezel from any page in the app drawer. Customization is still heavily fixed on themes, but there are a few more options this time. And Xperia connectivity is as rich as ever with mirroring tech and of course DualShock 3 controller functionality. The multitasking panel has been changed up a bit. So too the small apps, with the option to have a widget as a stackable floating app. They function the same, fairly limited in use, as raw multitasking tends to be as fast an option. The keyboard on the Z1 is a nice clean crack, but I found the spacebar too small and would often mistype due to that. Included in the box with my version was a charging dock. When docked, the UI can be used in landscape, undock it, and it can't, unless in specific apps. This should really be an all-round feature. Now, that long speaker grille at the base gave me high hopes that audio quality from the loudspeaker would be a dream. Mediocrity was the end result. It's fair, but not very punchy and clear, with distortion appearing when maxed out. The other big improvement Sony made was the surprise inclusion of a 20.7 megapixel rear shooter with Sony's new G lens and a whopping great big sensor. If you want to shoot to this quality, you need to switch it to manual mode. It defaults to lower for superior auto mode, which is where most people will be, and a 4:3 aspect ratio. It also negates the use of scenes to aid in low light circumstances, but the options to amend are there and fairly intuitive and easy to follow. Switching between sections, you're met with a screen of large app tiles. This is a little Windows phone and something that could be integrated more appealing, but it does allow for expansion. Of interest, AR Effects interprets a scene and overlays moving objects into the world you're shooting. Pretty fun for kids and friends. Social Live allows for live streaming of events directly onto Facebook with views, comments, and likes, all active on screen as you are filming. It is limited to 10-minute sessions, but a fun little piece of tech that will no doubt find its way into other UIs in the future. Both the rear and 2 megapixel front-facing camera shoot 1080p video at 30 frames per second. In terms of quality, and I know I dragged this part out, it isn't the best I've seen. Daylight shots came through nice, there are great focus options, and it was accurate and fast. The lens did great at drawing and highlighting the important sections of photos. There is a general depth of green noticeable, but in lower lighting situations, shots often came through with too much noise, warmer at times, and with blown out lighting, where the software tried too hard to expose shadow areas. At night, it performed sluggishly. It failed to accurately capture the tones of a scene and struggled so much so at times it was even hard to capture a usable shot. I'm thoroughly impressed with the Xperia Z1 as the follow-on from the Xperia Z. Sony were wise to make the amendments they did as quickly as they did, and the Z1 has a very unique feature set that stands it well apart in the market. The camera still isn't what I want to use on a day-to-day, and the in-hand usage, while elegant and robust, was unwieldy and awkward due to the size. Trimming of the bezels is about all it needs. But I suspect, hope, the curved glass years will mean the Z2 may be the first dual curved glass panel device, and one to behold. Help support the work I do and follow the link to pick one up from mobicity.com. I'm Kurt, and this is KABOOtech. Thanks for watching.